Hi everyone, so in this video I'm doing a watercolor painting. I haven't done watercolor in a while. I've been really wanting to do another watercolor painting, and I started it off with a sketch in my sketchbook, and then I took it into my computer and I kind of worked on the sketch digitally. So I moved things around, sketched things out, planned out the colors and the values for it, and then after that I took it to, I printed it off and then transferred it to my watercolor paper, and then I painted it traditionally. So I kind of did most of the planning digitally and then transferred that over to traditional. And originally I was trying to think of a concept I could do that was something going along with my water series, the series of drawings I do that are water themed, and I wanted to do another one. I was thinking maybe a seahorse or a starfish, but I really just wasn't feeling like doing another water one. I wanted to do something different, a different concept, and I came up with this concept where there's a girl in the forest. She has an umbrella and a hat for some reason, and she's walking and she sees this like weird creature. It's like a bunny with wings and like really long ears and more than two eyes. Like it has a bunch of eyes on its head. I wanted to do some kind of cute but creepy creature that she's kind of standing in front of, really unsure, like, oh, is this a friendly creature, or this looks really weird, I've never seen anything like this before, and she's just kind of stumbled upon this creature in the forest. That's kind of the concept behind this painting, and I had a lot of fun planning out the colors. I find it really helps to plan out your colors before you actually go in and do your final painting. It takes out a lot of the trial and error part that come into planning out your colors. So basically what I did is I took my sketch, well usually I'll take my sketch and I'll make it smaller, and then I'll print off a bunch of those, and then I'll kind of color on each one and plan out where I want to put what colors. But this time, since I was making the sketch digitally anyway, I was able to plan out the colors on my drawing program. So I just used like layers on top of the sketch. I think I use like multiply and overlay most of the time, and for some reason, like sometimes when I'm doing a picture, I just have like a clear image of what kind of color I want to be the most important color, and this one was like a greenish yellow, and I really wanted the characters to look kind of backlit, and I wanted the greenish yellow to kind of be the focal point of the painting, so where like the bunny and the girl would kind of be on either side of the yellow part. And it took me a while to figure out what kind of composition I wanted. Like I spent a lot of time planning this out digitally, a lot more time than I expected, but I think since I planned it out so extensively before I actually did the final painting, that I was able to execute it a lot better than I would have before. And it didn't feel like it took me as long as I expected it to take me, and especially when I first started the picture. Well, first of all, the borders around the picture are too large for my tape to like cover, so I had to do like 2 pieces of tape on all the borders, so I had to like layer the tape on top of each other just so I could get it to stick to the paper and my mat at the same time. And when I did the first layer, I was just referring to the color planning that I did digitally, and it really helped. Like, it's such a useful tool to be able to know exactly where you want to put what colors, because once you've planned the sketch completely, you've planned your colors and your lighting, all you have to do is just translate that into neater brush strokes basically, and then at that point it was fairly easy because I knew exactly what I wanted it to look like. And sometimes it's frustrating when the planning takes a really long time, because that's what happened here. It was taking so long and I feel like I just couldn't figure it out, and I would like step away from it for a few minutes, come back to it, and then realize, oh, that needs to be moved over, and then the composition would look better. And I couldn't decide if I wanted to sketch in all the blades of grass or if I wanted to just let the watercolor do that. And I feel like I'm getting closer and closer to doing things with mostly watercolor, because usually I have to outline everything with like an ink pen afterwards, just to kind of give everything a clean edge. But I think I did a good job here of not relying on that too much. I did use a very thin brush with like a dark purplish brownish color to kind of outline some things, and then even smaller things I had to use an ink pen because I didn't want to mess up all the details. And watercolor is a lot more forgiving than I thought when I first started it, because if you mess something up, depends on how many layers of color you've done and how much the color stains the paper, because like some colors stain the paper a lot worse than others. But if you take like a really wet brush and just like kind of scrub out the area and then dab it away with a paper towel, you can lift off a lot of the darker color. It'll still be a little bit stained, but it might be good enough to fix whatever mistake happened. I kind of did that with her face, because her face was getting to be a little bit too muddy looking, so I just took a brush, went over her face, dabbed it away, and then I actually in the end ended up doing her face in acrylics and a micron brush pen because it was the finest point I could get from anything, because it comes to a very fine point because it's a brush pen. And it took me a long time to get her face to look the way I wanted it to look initially in the sketch, and it's kind of weird because her face is the only thing that has acrylic paint on it, so it's a little bit shiny versus the rest of the paper, which is completely matte, and it kind of sticks out a little bit because it's like a thick layer of paint that's on it. But overall, I'm really happy with the way I made the colors, and I'm a little bit unsure about the trees. I think they look a little bit too messy, but I think I overall captured what I wanted to capture, which is really nice, and I think a big part of that was the extensive planning that I did. So I would really, really recommend that if you want to convey a certain scene or a certain kind of drawing, definitely take the time to plan it out, because it makes the process when you actually go and paint it and make it finalized, it makes that so much easier. So I would really recommend doing that. If you ever want a really specific drawing or you just want it to work out in the end, take the time to plan it, because sometimes the planning time takes just as long as actually doing the piece, or even longer. And I had a lot of fun with the really bright greenish yellow color, because I kept going in with a really, really light blue and making little swooping brush textures that kind of look like branches or leaves. And I just love how watercolor leaves a line at the edge of all the brush strokes, especially lighter colors. I think certain paper allows you to see this more. I think hot press paper might make this a little bit more obvious, like where you take a brush with watercolor, and when it dries, the edge is darker than the inside. That's kind of like a classic look of watercolor, and I kind of took advantage of that with the background with the lighter blues and greens that I did. I love adding texture this way, especially digitally. I love to do that with digital art, leaving in all the brush textures, and I think doing that all the time digitally allowed me to kind of figure out how I wanted to do it with this painting, and I'm really having fun with watercolor. It's fast. I find it covers a large area really, really quickly, and I just love how the colors blend together. When you already have a wet surface and then you put in a color and it kind of spreads out into the other color, it's really fun. And getting the right lighting and colors I find is easier with watercolor, because it covers a really large distance really quickly because water spreads so easily. I've also been wanting to do more acrylic paintings because I've only ever done realism with acrylic paint, and I want to do something more like this with acrylics because you can just paint over your mistakes, and I also just love the texture of it, and I really, really want to try that eventually. So I hope I'll do that soon. Eventually, another painting kind of like this, some kind of scene. I want to do it with acrylic paint because I've never really done that before, and I think it'd be really fun to try it out. So overall, I'm happy with the way this turned out. If you want to get a print of this or a sticker or a phone case or anything like that, there'll be a link in the description to my shop where you can buy this on a lot of different kinds of products. And yeah, overall, I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I like how I included the yellow and the purple, how they're kind of complementary colors. And it was a lot of fun to do, and the process was a lot easier than I thought it would be. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one.